Good morning, students. As I told you earlier, from today onwards, we will discuss some important aspects of the respiratory system, the applied aspects of the respiratory system or the clinical aspects of the respiratory system. Now, to start with, we shall first go to the respiratory disequilibrium. Respiratory disequilibrium. Now, what is respiratory disequilibrium? Now, this is determined by two important facts. One fact, number one, is oxygen consumption, and CO2 production. This is on one hand, and second is the pulmonary ventilation. Pulmonary ventilation. So normally in healthy state there is an equilibrium between these two facts, that is oxygen consumption and carbon dioxide production and pulmonary ventilation. Whenever this balance, delicate balance is disturbed, it results in respiratory disequilibrium. So what is respiratory disequilibrium? It is a condition where there is a disruption in the balance of O2 consumption and CO2 production on one hand, and on the other hand pulmonary ventilation. Clear? Now let us see what are the problems which may arise as a result of this disequilibrium. The problems which may arise are the following. Problems. Number one, the most important is hypoxia. I will discuss in details. Hypoxia will be discussed in detail today. Second one is hypocapnia. Third one is oxygen toxicity. Fourth one is hypercapnia. Now let us consider the meanings of these individual terminologies. Now hypoxia means oxygen deficiency at the tissue level. Oxygen deficiency at the tissue level. Hypocapnia means diminished carbon dioxide in blood. Oxygen toxicity means increased tissue damage due to injudicious application of O2. Tissue damage due to injudicious application of O2. Hypercapnia means increased carbon dioxide in the system or in the blood. So you see, so far as the oxygen and the carbon dioxide are concerned, there may be deficiency of O2 at the tissue level, hypoxia. There may be diminished carbon dioxide in the blood, known as hypocapnia. There may be oxygen toxicity due to injudicious use of oxygen in some of the clinical conditions, and hypercapnia, that is increased carbon dioxide concentration in blood. Now, among all these, we shall discuss only hypoxia today. because this is the most important thing. Nowadays, you know quite well, the people who are suffering from this deadly virus, the pandemic which is going on due to the coronavirus, the most of the people, they suffer from hypoxia, breathlessness, and they are to admitted to the hospitals or nursing homes for immediate oxygen therapy. So all of them suffer from hypoxia, which leads to breathlessness, and they are to be given oxygen depending upon the severity of the condition. Now let us discuss hypoxia today. As I told you, hypoxia by definition is oxygen deficiency at the tissue level. In the tissue there is oxygen deficiency. Hypoxia is the tissue, at the tissue level there is deficiency of oxygen. Now, what are the different types of hypoxia? There are 4 types. Number A is hypoxic hypoxia. Hypoxic hypoxia. Number B is anemic hypoxia. Number C is stagnant hypoxia. Stagnant. And number D is histotoxic hypoxia. Histotoxic. So there are 4 varieties. One is hypoxic hypoxia. Second one is anemic hypoxia. Third one is stagnant hypoxia. And the fourth one is histotoxic hypoxia. So there are 4 varieties. I will discuss individual variety. So first, let us take an account of hypoxic hypoxia. Now in this condition, that is in hypoxic hypoxia, there will be the essential feature by which the hypoxic hypoxia can be ascertained is diminished partial pressure of oxygen in the arterial blood, that is diminished PO2. This signifies, PO2 signifies the partial pressure of oxygen in the arterial blood. So if you go for a blood gas analysis, we will find in hypoxic hypoxia that the partial pressure of oxygen, which is normally about 95 millimeter of mercury, goes down. So the hallmark of hypoxic hypoxia is diminished partial pressure of oxygen in the arterial blood. Very, very important. What may be the causes? The causes of hypoxic hypoxia. Number 1, diminished air in the oxygen in the inspired air, that is diminished PiO2. I for inspired. So diminished PiO2. Oxygen is present at a low pressure in the atmosphere, which normally occurs in high altitude. So number 1 cause of hypoxic hypoxia is diminished partial pressure in the inspired air, partial pressure of oxygen, of course, in the inspired air, as in high altitude, we know quite well. Second one, there is improper ventilation. That is, the air is normal, but the person is not able to take oxygen due to his or her own problem. What may be the problem? The problem may be a restrictive lung disorder or obstructive lung disorder, or there may be defect in the thoracic cage like bony abnormalities, kyphosis, scoliosis. In this condition, the person is not able to take proper ventilation, though the inspired air contains the right amount of oxygen. In this situation, there will be hypoxia. So, improper ventilation due to obstructive, restrictive, or bony cage abnormality. Bony cage abnormality. So there may be obstructive disorder, there is obstruction in the airway. There may be restrictive disorder, that is the lung is not moving properly, is not expanding properly due to some disease in the lungs, fibrosis in the lungs. And the third one, there may be defect in the respiratory cage or the thoracic cage rather, as a result of which the person is not able to properly ventilate. So these may be the three causes of improper ventilation which leads to hypoxic hypoxia. This is clear, I think. The third important cause, there may be defective diffusion. Defective diffusion at the level of the blood gas barrier, that is as the respiratory membrane. You know quite well, in the alveolar air there is a respiratory membrane through which there is gaseous exchange takes place, and if this membrane is defective, say for example due to fibrosis, there is thickening of this membrane, or due to fluid collection in between the layers of the membrane becomes thick, and as a result of which, in spite of the normal air going to the alveoli, it is not possible for that air to diffuse into the alveolar, the pulmonary capillary blood, so that the blood gets less amount of oxygen, and so also the tissues leading to hypoxia. So the defective diffusion due to defect in respiratory membrane So this is clear, this is very rational. If there is any defect, the oxygen which is going inside the alveoli cannot pass into the pulmonary capillary blood, leading to hypoxia. Right? And the fourth one, which is very, very important, we call it ventilation perfusion imbalance or mismatch. Ventilation perfusion imbalance or mismatch. What is that? Say for example, an alveoli is properly ventilated. An alveoli is properly ventilated. Good amount of air is entering the alveoli, but the pulmonary capillary which embraces the alveoli, this is the pulmonary capillary which embraces the alveoli, this black one. Say for example, there is an obstruction in the pulmonary capillary over here. So what will happen? The blood will be obstructed over here. So no blood will be going at this level. In spite of the fact that the huge amount of oxygen is coming into the alveoli, there is no blood in the pulmonary capillary. So there is ventilation perfusion. Perfusion means blood supply. There is ventilation perfusion mismatch, as a result of which this ventilation is wasted, this oxygen is wasted, it does not get any scope to go into the blood. Why? Because the pulmonary capillary is obstructed over here. The pulmonary capillary is obstructed over here, and as a result of which the blood cannot go. So I think these are the 4 important causes of hypoxia, and this is clear to you. Very easy to remember. Less in the air, less is going into the alveoli due to the inability of the person to take it inside. Even if the person takes the right amount, it cannot go into the blood. Third one. Fourth one, it is going into the capillary normally, but there is a defect in the perfusion. There is a blood supply to those alveoli. So therefore, that ventilation gets wasted. So these are the 4 causes. All these causes will lead to hypoxia. Am I clear? Now the next one, we will go to the anemic hypoxia. This typically occurs in anemia. That is where the hemoglobin is less. So it carries less amount of oxygen into the tissues. But one thing to be remembered, there is a stark difference with the hypoxia, that in anemic hypoxia, the partial pressure of oxygen is normal. But the oxygen content of the blood is less. Why? Because the hemoglobin is less. So less amount of blood will be present in the hemoglobin. So hemoglobin, which carries the majority of the oxygen from the lung to the tissues, as a result of its deficiency, there will be less content of oxygen in the blood. But the partial pressure depends upon the amount of oxygen dissolved in the plasma. This is very, very important. Note it down. The PO2 depends upon the amount of oxygen dissolved in plasma. Right? So this amount of oxygen dissolved in plasma will remain normal in case of anemic hypoxia. So there will be hypoxia, and that is due to the less amount of hemoglobin present in the blood. Hemoglobin will be less. Hemoglobin percentage will be less. There are 2 other important conditions where, in spite of the fact that the hemoglobin remains normal, still there may be anemic hypoxia. One is carbon monoxide poisoning, and the second is methemoglobinemia. Methemoglobinemia. So in these 2 conditions, what happens? Because you know quite well, in case of carbon monoxide poisoning, the carbon monoxide is such a gas, poisonous gas, which has tremendous affinity for hemoglobin. So what will happen? Whenever the person inhales the gas, there is formation of a compound known as carboxyhemoglobin, COHB, because the carbon monoxide has got 200 times more affinity than oxygen to get combined with hemoglobin. So as a result of huge amount of COHB, or carboxyhemoglobin, will be formed, which is incapable of carrying oxygen. So there will be normal amount of hemoglobin in the blood, but majority of that hemoglobin is functionally incapable of carrying oxygen. Why? Because they have made compound with carbon monoxide known as carboxyhemoglobin. In this condition, we will get anemic type of hypoxia. This should also be included in anemic type of hypoxia. In true anemic hypoxia, there was less hemoglobin. Here the hemoglobin is normal, but due to the fact that majority of the hemoglobin forms carboxyhemoglobin with carbon monoxide, it is not capable of carrying oxygen. So the picture comes like as if the person is suffering from anemic hypoxia. So carbon monoxide poisoning is one of the important causes of anemic hypoxia. Coming to the methemoglobinemia, here the hemoglobin is oxidized. Normally you know quite well that hemoglobin is oxygenated, which is a physical reaction, but if the hemoglobin undergoes chemical reaction with the oxygen, it becomes oxidized hemoglobin, which is known as the methemoglobin. So if the hemoglobin is oxidized, it produces methemoglobin, and that methemoglobin, once again like COHB, carboxyhemoglobin, cannot carry oxygen. So it will produce a similar picture like that of anemic hypoxia or carbon monoxide poisoning in that sense, because it is not capable of carrying oxygen. Am I clear? So in anemic hypoxia, there are two important twists. One is the anemia itself responsible for anemic hypoxia, and two other clinical conditions. One is the carbon monoxide poisoning, another is the methemoglobinemia. Both are leading to formation of two important compounds. One is COHB, another is methemoglobin or oxidized hemoglobin, both of which are incapable of carrying oxygen. So the picture will resemble that of anemic hypoxia. Okay? Now we will go to the stagnant hypoxia. The very meaning of the term stagnant means bogged. It is bogged somewhere. So the stagnant hypoxia usually occurs in sluggish circulation. Whenever there is slowing down of the circulation due to any cause, there may be obstruction in one of the peripheral veins, as a result of which there is slowing down of circulation, or there may be a failure of the central pump, that is congestive cardiac failure. The heart fails to pump good amount of blood into the peripheral tissues. So there will be reduction in the velocity of blood in the peripheral capillaries. So both these conditions, that is the local obstruction as well as the central inability of the cardiac pump to push blood into the peripheral vessels. So there will be reduction in the velocity of blood, and that will lead to hypoxia, which is known as the stagnant hypoxia. Why that will lead to hypoxia? Say for example, this is a peripheral blood vessel through which the blood is passing very slowly. This blood contains HbO2, from which the O2s are constantly being drained into the tissues. So the hemoglobin is getting deoxygenated. The oxygen is taken out from the hemoglobin, and if this huge amount of deoxygenated hemoglobin is present in the peripheral circulation, so the tissues will be deprived of further oxygen, because the majority of the oxygen has been taken from the HbO2. So tissues will suffer from diminished oxygen supply, leading to hypoxia. So this type of hypoxia, where the hypoxia is due to the stagnancy of blood in the circulation, whatever may be the cause, stagnancy of blood into the circulation, that will lead to this type of hypoxia, that is stagnant hypoxia. This is stagnant hypoxia. We will come across this one once again after a while. This stagnant hypoxia. So let it be over there. Here also in stagnant hypoxia, as you know quite well, the most important feature is the PO2 is normal. In anemic hypoxia, the PO2 is normal. In stagnant hypoxia, the partial pressure of the oxygen in the blood is normal. Why? Because it depends upon the amount of oxygen dissolved into the plasma, not the amount of oxygen carried by the hemoglobin. This is very important. Conceptually, this is very, very important because the partial pressure of gases, you know quite well from your physical chemistry knowledge, is dependent upon the amount of that gas dissolved in a liquid. Is this clear? So the partial pressure depends upon the amount of the dissolved gas, and that's why here there is no problem in the amount of the dissolved gas. All is happening pertaining to HbO2, stagnancy of blood, diminished velocity of blood in the peripheral blood vessels, and that's why there is no problem in the dissolved oxygen. So the PO2 will remain normal. The last one is the histotoxic hypoxia. The very name suggests, you know, histotoxic. Histotoxic. There may be some toxicity in the tissues due to some poisoning. Histo means tissue, toxic means toxicity. So histotoxic means there must be some poisoning in the tissues so that the tissue cannot utilize the delivered oxygen. Everything is normal. It is normal in the inspired air. There is no problem in the ventilation. There is no problem in the diffusion. There is no problem so far as the ventilation perfusion mismatch is concerned. It is delivered normally into the tissues, but the tissues are incapable of utilizing that oxygen due to failure of its metabolic machinery. And what is that? The typical condition where this histotoxic hypoxia occurs is cyanide poisoning. This is a deadly poison. Cyanide is a deadly poison. Cyanide poisoning. So whenever a person consumes cyanide, it goes directly into the tissues, and thereby the cyanide jeopardizes the metabolic machinery of the cell, particularly the cytochrome oxidase system of the mitochondria. Cytochrome oxidase system of the mitochondria is destroyed. So what happens? The tissue, in spite of getting good amount of oxygen with normal pressure, PO2 is also normal over here. There is no question of reduction of the PO2 because it is delivered normally into the tissues, but the tissues are incapable of utilizing that oxygen as a result of its loss of the capability to utilize that oxygen. Cytochrome oxidase system is jeopardized as a result of cyanide poisoning. Cyanide poisoning. In this case, we usually give methylene blue. Methylene blue is a substance which is given to treat it. Methylene blue. And that methylene blue converts this hemoglobin, which is, the cyanide which has poisoned the tissue, to cyan methemoglobin. Actually, this methylene blue converts, with an oxidizing agent, converts hemoglobin to methemoglobin, and that methemoglobin reacts with cyanide to form cyan methemoglobin. That is Hb plus methylene blue is equal to methemoglobin. That methemoglobin combines with cyanide to form cyan methemoglobin. Which is a non-toxic compound. So cyan methemoglobin is a non-toxic compound. So if you give methylene blue to a person who has consumed cyanide, immediately you shall have to administer, because this poison kills virtually all the cells of our body within a few minutes. So you shall have to give, after diagnosing the case, methylene blue, so that it converts the hemoglobin to methemoglobin, an oxidizing agent, and that methemoglobin readily reacts with the cyanide which is present in the system to form cyan methemoglobin, which is a non-toxic substance. So the person is saved. But the rapidity or the readiness of the treatment should be very, very efficient. This is clear. So that is all about these hypoxias. Now, what are the symptoms of the hypoxia? If a person suffers from hypoxia, what will be the symptoms? So let us consider the symptoms of hypoxia. Number A, hyperventilation. Hyperventilation. But this hyperventilation is found only in hypoxic hypoxia. Why? Because in hypoxic hypoxia, as I told you, there is diminished PO2, and this diminished PO2 stimulates the peripheral chemoreceptors. Perhaps it has been taught regulation of respiration, chemical regulation of respiration. However, whatever it may be, you know right at this moment that these diminished partial pressure of oxygen in the blood, they stimulate the peripheral chemoreceptor, that is the carotid and the aortic bodies located in the carotid artery and the aortic artery, that immediately senses that hypoxia and sends impulse to the cerebral respiratory centers, and there is hyperventilation. The person starts taking respiration, both increasing in the rate and depth of respiration. Hyperventilation we call it. But in other hypoxia, the hyperventilation is usually not found. Why? Because, as I told you earlier, just the pivotal thing of clinching the diagnosis of the type of hypoxia is the partial pressure of oxygen. Excepting the hypoxic hypoxia, in other hypoxia, the partial pressure of oxygen remains normal. It is diminished only in hypoxic hypoxia. So there will be hyperventilation, which is very pronounced in hypoxic hypoxia. The second important manifestation or symptoms of hypoxia will be cyanosis. What is this? What is cyanosis? By definition, cyanosis is a bluish discoloration of the skin and mucous membrane due to reduced hemoglobin concentration less than 5 gram per cent. Very, very important. This quantity is very, very important. Reduced HB or deoxygenated HB. Reduced hemoglobin content means when the oxygen goes away from the hemoglobin. That is the reduced hemoglobin. Very, very important. It is chemically also very important. Reduced hemoglobin or deoxygenated hemoglobin concentration when becomes less than 5 gram per cent, less than 5 gram per cent, more than 5 gram per cent, not less than, more than 5 gram per cent in our circulation, there will be bluish discoloration of the skin and mucous membrane. What are the sites? I am just telling you. But the definition of cyanosis must be clear. Once again I am telling, there is a bluish discoloration of the skin and mucous membrane in different parts of the body due to the reduced hemoglobin concentration exceeding 5 gram per cent. Normally it is less than 5 gram per cent. In our blood there are always some reduced hemoglobin because the oxygen is steadily getting reduced after delivering its oxygen into the tissues. So there is always a concentration of reduced hemoglobin. but that usually does not exceed 5 gram percent. If it exceeds 5 gram percent, then the color of this reduced hemoglobin will be manifested in different parts of our body, both peripheral as well as the central parts of our body. And depending upon that, the cyanosis has been divided into two types. One is the central, another is the peripheral. So there is central cyanosis, one variety, another variety is the peripheral cyanosis. Now, so far as the peripheral cyanosis is concerned, let us discuss this first because it is related to the stagnant hypoxia, as I told you. So, in case of peripheral cyanosis, what happens? There is increased concentration of reduced hemoglobin in the periphery, which ideally occurs in stagnant hypoxia. As I was just telling you that in stagnant hypoxia, what happens? HbO2, the oxygen is going over here, so increased amount of HHB, that is reduced hemoglobin, remains over there. So in stagnant hypoxia, if we consider any peripheral blood vessel, there is slowing of circulation, stagnant hypoxia is there, simultaneously there will be increased concentration of reduced hemoglobin into that peripheral vessel, and when it exceeds 5 gram percent, then there is appearance of bluish discoloration in the peripheral part. Which part? Usually in the nail bed. Very, very important. The sign which you will have to see into your clinical classes. Actually, all these are your early clinical exposure classes. You may write it down into your notebook, that all which I am telling so far as the applied aspects of the respiratory system is concerned belong to the early clinical exposure scheme prescribed by the National Medical Commission. So all these are early. Even my immunology was also belonging to that, and these applied aspects of the respiratory system, anything which I will teach will belong to the early clinical exposure. Because this peripheral cyanosis, you shall have to know the site where it appears. It appears in the nails, nail bed. They become blue. So that means there is some stagnancy of blood in the peripheral vessels where reduced hemoglobin concentration has exceeded 5 gram percent, and therefore there is appearance of the cyanosis. As because it is appearing in the peripheral parts of the body, it is known as the peripheral cyanosis. So what about the central cyanosis? The central cyanosis, the sites where it will be appearing is very typical. One is the tongue tip, nose tip, lips, earlobes. So tongue tip, nose tip, earlobes, and the lips where there is mucocutaneous junction. These are the sites for the appearance of central cyanosis. And what may be the cause of central cyanosis then? Because there is no stagnancy of blood in the central region. It is not expected. This is a very dreadful condition if there is any stagnancy of blood in the central circulatory region. So the cause of the central cyanosis will be central admixture of blood. Which blood? Venous blood with the arterial blood. Whenever possible. When does it occur? When due to the central cause there is venous admixture of blood with the arterial blood occurs. When does it occur? It occurs when there is a right to left shunt in the heart. So there is a defect in the ventricular septum, If there is a defect in the interatrial septum, there is a defect in the ventricular septum, and the blood shifts from the right side of the heart to the left side. That means the venous blood goes directly to the arterial side, bypassing the pulmonary circulation. So it does not get any scope to be oxidized. So this venous blood, which is having huge amount of reduced hemoglobin because it is coming from the venous side, reaching the right side of the heart, instead of going to the pulmonary circulation due to the defect present, it goes directly into the left side of the heart and thereby into the systemic circulation. So the reduced hemoglobin concentration in the systemic circulation at once becomes more than 5 gram per cent, and there is appearance of bluish discoloration in the central regions already mentioned, that is tip of the tongue, tip of the nose, lips and the ear lobes. Is this clear? So that is about the central and the peripheral cyanosis. So cyanosis is very, very important. It is one of the very, very important signs of hypoxia. It is due to hypoxia, you know quite well, because oxygen deficiency is there, and as a result of which the HbO2 is less over there. It becomes reduced hemoglobin. When its concentration is exceeding 5 gram per cent, there is appearance of cyanosis, be it in the peripheral tissue due to the stagnancy of blood in the peripheral side, or in the central regions I have already mentioned, due to the admixture of the right-sided blood with the left-sided blood. That means the venous blood with the arterial blood, and thereby increasing the concentration of reduced hemoglobin more than 5 gram per cent, and appearance of subsequent cyanosis. Is this clear? So the second manifestation is like this. The third and the last manifestation of hypoxia are the cerebral symptoms. Very, very important. At times these cerebral symptoms may lead the physician to diagnose the case that the person is perhaps suffering from hypoxia. There is no other symptoms. The person is not ventilating. The person is not cyanosed. Person is not hyperventilating. The person is not cyanosed, but manifesting some cerebral symptoms, and these cerebral symptoms quite funnily resembles alcohol toxicity. Quite funnily resembles alcohol toxicity. That is, what are the manifestations? The manifestations may be drowsiness or overactivity. You have seen many alcoholics on the street, so you must be knowing it very well, even better than me. So there may be drowsiness or there may be overactivity. There may be disorientation. These are the cerebral symptoms. This is due to the hypoxia to the brain. Hypoxia to the brain leads to all these features, that is drowsiness or overactivity, disorientation, diminished pain sensation, This one may be one of the manifestation, and the last one is diminished judgment. So remember all these cerebral symptoms. You shall have to remember an alcoholic person which you have seen on the street. So this is enough. He just loses his so-called balance, number one, talks tremendously or becomes drowsy. He loses its pain sensation. If someone throws a just pelt to him or her, or give some painful sensation, there will be no response from the person. The person loses his sense of judgment. So all these manifestations are due to the cerebral symptoms of hypoxia, which resembles alcohol toxicity. So the hypoxia, cyanosis, clinical manifestations all have been taught in this class. So that's all for today. We'll go into the next class and I will tell you when. Thank you.